Hello everyone, this is Powell Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to be talking about a major storm that's going to bring a major flood risk, some large hail, and some damaging winds, and then much cooler weather out west, and then we really heat up out east. So if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button and notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. This is May 18th, and we've got flash flood watches pretty much almost the entire state of Texas and central and southern Oklahoma, portions of Arkansas, and then also portions of Louisiana still, where they just got crushed yesterday with some very heavy rainfall. And we'll go over some of those totals here in a little bit. Here's more or less the outlook of what's going to be happening over the next 7 days. We're going to have a diving trough digging in out west. That's going to bring some much cooler conditions out here into the Pacific Northwest. We've got a stalled upper level low that's just going to be sitting over the Four Corners region all week long, sending spokes of waves of energy and storms over Texas and much of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. And then we have a ridge building up here into the northeast. That'll be slowly diving down into the Ohio Valley and eventually getting into the southeast as we go deeper into the weekend. So let me kind of take you through the rainfall totals just in the last 48 to 72 hours since this event started on Sunday. They've just been crushed down here in parts of Houston, down here in Louisiana. I mean, Lake Charles alone just yesterday got 12 inches of rain. There was parts in and around Beaumont has already received 17 inches of rainfall. So this is some serious flooding. In and around Dallas, they've had 3 to 6 inches. Just numerous pockets of some very heavy rain of much of Texas, portions of Louisiana, Arkansas, and even up here into Kansas. They picked up some very heavy rain, as this upper level low will just continue to send spokes of energy into the same areas that just really don't need any more rainfall. So let me kind of take you through over the next 7 days. So here's the outlook for today. So right now we've got pretty much a slight risk for severe weather in and around Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. This will hit portions of northern Houston. They could see some larger hail later on this afternoon, but the main risk is just going to be your very heavy rain and flash flood threat over much of North Texas, over much of Louisiana again, where they do have those flash flood watches in effect right now. We've got a cold front that's going to be diving in from the Pacific Northwest. That's going to bring much cooler conditions for them, and even some snow going to start to fly in the higher elevations. And these are just more or less sporadic showers, isolated showers that could pop up in some daytime heating up into the central U.S., but predominantly dry in the southeast and predominantly dry in the northeast as well. So kind of highlight the Storm Prediction Center risk for today. Like I mentioned, they do have that slight risk over much of central Texas. That includes Austin, San Antonio, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where they could see an isolated tornado threat. So that is your tornado threat later on this afternoon. It has about a 2% chance of seeing a pop-up isolated tornado. That can't be ruled out in this scenario. We do have an elevated wind threat, so we could see some damaging winds with these powerful, what they call mesoscale convective systems, as they move across, and it'll just be waves and waves more or less continuing all day long. We do have that threat for severe weather with that very heavy rain. So for tomorrow, that same situation just continues to play out. That cold front digs a little bit further southeast, snow flying behind that colder air out in the Pacific Northwest. And then we just get crushed with more heavy rain over portions Oklahoma, Arkansas, into Dallas, into San Antonio. Now that heavier rain could sink a little bit further south into Brownsville and into the Brazos Valley area. Houston gets very heavy rain again. Even portions of even Lake Charles again with some very heavy rain. So a lot of the same areas will pick up even more rain as we go into the day on Wednesday. You can see high pressure digging in, and that's going to be the dominant trend as we go forward through the week. This high pressure will just keep baking the areas out here to the east, and will expand and slowly shift further west as we go deeper into the week. So As we get into Thursday, that's when the situation changes a little bit because the cold front dives a little bit further down to the southeast. More snow will fly. We do see an elevated risk for some slight risk for severe weather in portions of South Dakota, portions of Nebraska, getting into portions of Kansas, and that'll be on the days on Thursday where that very heavy rain continues to trend over Texas. Now that shifts more or less into South Texas, maybe in and around the Houston area that could be hit with very heavy rain. We see a backdoor front that could be sliding into the northeast as that higher pressure continues to shift further into the interior regions and start sitting over portions, say Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, where the high pressure is, that sinking air, that's going to be very dry air, and it's going to be able to heat up really quick in a big way. I mean, some of these temperatures, even by noon, could really ramp up pretty high, even for midday hours. So as we take you through the day on Friday, here's the setup. There is your high pressure diving into portions of Kentucky, get into Virginia, North Carolina. That is your highest, most, anomaly air, your hottest air over the United States. That trough continues to dig a little bit further off into to the southeast from the Pacific Northwest. And you can see as the high pressure will continue to build a little bit further down into the southeast, that'll keep the rain chances, slightly away from Louisiana now. So this will, as this trend continues to build, it'll shift that rain band. That'll be a continuous flow that'll be coming out of the Caribbean as that low will just sit and spin over here. And so now the heavier rains will be a little bit more further into North Texas, getting into Houston, and maybe a little bit less out of Louisiana and Arkansas by then, as this flow will wrap around on the backside, and underneath it you got that sinking air. And again, more snow will be flying in the higher elevations in the Pacific Northwest. There's your day on Saturday. Yeah, there's your high pressure will continue to build and expand. Some of your probably hottest temperatures of the season are going to be inundated over Tennessee, much of the Ohio Valley, getting in portions of the southeast. That'll be coming up this weekend. And again, as that high shifts a little bit further down back towards Texas, that'll shift the rain just a little bit further off into the west, and you can see the flow, see the trend. It's almost all out of Louisiana now. Now it's going to be setting up shop over portions of South Texas, Central Texas, North Texas again. Unfortunately, as that wraparound will continue to spread a little bit further into to the northeast, or that underneath that dome of high pressure, that's just your sinking air will continue to compress in a very, very warm day coming up on the day on a Saturday. There's your look on Sunday. The high pressure continues to dive a little bit further to the west. That'll be over portions of Missouri, getting into Arkansas with the sinking air. All of Louisiana and even much of North Texas will finally start to dry out as we go into the day on Sunday, because of this backdoor high that's going to be sneaking in from the east. So that is going to be your relief in sight in North Texas. As you can see, finally by Sunday, it's further enough away where it pulls the precipitation away from North Texas, and then that'll be into South Texas now, into more or less West Texas, into the panhandle of Texas, and that trend will just almost continue as we go into the day on a Monday, as we get just a little bit less, so we can finally say goodbye to our upper level low that'll just be crushed with some very heavy rain all week long. But essentially, we still got another 5 to 6 more days to deal with, and we've got a lot of bad weather to happen between now and then. And I'm really concerned about a major flood threat in a lot of these areas where you can just see the ground is just almost completely saturated. The lakes and rivers are full. So they're just not going to need any more rainfall. And we have a lot more on the way. There's your setup beyond the 7 days. There's your 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Again, trough digs in from the west, bringing those cooler conditions for much of the west. It'll be below average by default in Texas because of all the rainfall that's going to be happening, and even portions of Louisiana. But where that ridge is and where that high pressure is, bam, that's where you got the hottest temperatures and your highest anomalies and your warmest air out here in much of the east. And this will slowly keep shifting southeast, and much of Florida could actually be touching portions of 100 degrees by the time we get into the middle of the following week. So we got some very warm air going to be building over the east over a period of time. There's your rainfall between now and next Tuesday. Not much happening as far as precipitation. We do have those colder temperatures, but we don't have much rainfall to speak of in much of California and much of the desert Southwest. Again, some of this could be forming, falling in the form of snow, but man, your main setup is going to be crushed with heavy rain over Texas. I mean, look at the map here. I mean, look at these little, this is over 10 inches of rainfall. So in this environment, you could easily pick up 2 to 3 inches of rainfall rate per hour. So that is what I'm deeply concerned about. And you can see the potential. It's already unfolded. So this is just some very soupy air mass that's going to be over us for the next 5 to 6 days in much of Texas, much of Louisiana, southern portions, central portions of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and then getting into Louisiana, and then just Texas gets crushed. Where that high pressure is over the southeast and much of the northeast, yeah, it's not going to be much rainfall at all to speak of, with some very warm temperatures that are going to be on the table for next week. So I appreciate you guys watching. Definitely be safe out there if you live in the impacted areas, and stay weather aware. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after storm.